Readmore, a reading kind of cat. Read a book like me, you'll soon agree that reading is where it's at.
Hey howdy, welcome back to my channel and welcome to my, what video is this? My August wrap up. I read some books in August and I'm here to talk about them. I read 8 books this month, which is quite a bit. Definitely more than last month, which I only read like 4 or 5, I think. So I am very excited to share them with you. Let's get started. The first book I read this month, I actually listened to an audiobook, and it is Shortfall by Robert Jackson Bennett. This book is the sequel to Foundryside, a fantasy book about a thief who can hear objects in her mind, basically, and she meets up with this ragtag group of individuals and they overthrow the government and lots of fantasy fun is had. I actually liked this one better than the first one. I liked the first one. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. The only thing I didn't like about it was that it has a very complex magic system, which I know some people really like in books, but I personally can find it a little muddling at times. But I did feel like I dedicated such a large portion of my time to understanding the magic system that I owed it to the series to continue it. So I read the second one and I liked it much better than the first one. I love these characters so much. Sanchia and Bernice and Gregor and Orso, they're all fantastic characters. Every character, including the side characters, has such a developed personality, which I absolutely love, and I love the romance in it as well, the sapphic romance. I think it's great. Another thing I really liked about this book is that the villains in this book have a lot of depth, which cannot be said for a lot of fantasy books. I feel like they really don't put a ton of character development into their villains. They're more just there as placeholders for the protagonists to defeat. But that was not the case with this book. I really felt like it spent time detailing who the villains were and why they were the way they were, which I loved. I gave Shortfall 4 out of 5 stars, so started off the month strong. And then after I read Shortfall, I read Poemsia by Lang Liev, which I'm not going to talk about a ton on here. If you want to go watch my video where I read a book by an author that I hate, that's this book right here, and I express all my opinions in that. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars overall. The next book I read after Poemsia was Midnight Sun by Stephanie Meyer, which is the new Twilight book. I read Twilight last month in preparation for the reading of Midnight Sun, and I absolutely loved it. I definitely would say that this was a better book than Twilight. It felt a lot like a Twilight do-over, which makes sense because that is basically what it was, but you could tell there's a lot of criticisms that people have about the first book that she worked to correct in this new book, particularly Bella's personality, her lack of personality. She definitely is given a lot more of a character and a lot more depth in this book. And also, I think that it was a book that was meant to correct a lot of Edward's faults and criticisms that had been geared towards Edward and his personality and some of the kind of borderline creepy things that he was doing in that first book. I think it was meant to kind of give perspective to those and make them slightly less problematic. Highly entertaining, but it was very long. This book was, I think the actual book is like 600, 700 pages, which is a little bit unnecessarily long. She really put no gaps in the story at all. It was like constant everyone's movement at any given time, and there was just never really a break from it, which I didn't like. I thought that especially towards the end it kind of just went on in a way that it didn't need to. This book had something that I really liked, which is high angst levels, because it's told from Edward's point of view. He's kind of grappling the whole time with like, oh, I shouldn't love a human because I'm a vampire and I don't want to ruin her life, and he's grappling with that the entire book. And so the levels of angst in this book are so high, and I love angst, and so I absolutely loved that part of the book, and it made it really readable. There was a weird scene at the end where he is like viewing Bella's attack, and I thought that was just completely unnecessary and didn't need to be in there. It was kind of like watching like some kind of weird torture porn, and I wasn't into it. Like, the descriptions were just like icky. It was icky. Ugh. I gave Midnight Sun 3 out of 5 stars, which is 1 more star than I gave Twilight, so there you have it. It was a better book. The next book I read in the month of August was The Shadows by Alex North. This was my first Alex North book. I have not read The Whisper Man, but I did immediately order it after I finished this book. This was by no means the greatest mystery suspense book I've ever read. It wasn't particularly scary, but it had a great ambiance and a great setting, and for that, I give it kudos. It was very well written and very well paced, which I loved. Like, I could not put this book down. It was one of those books where I just had to keep reading it because I wanted to know what happened, and so I really liked it for that reason. I wasn't in love with the ending because they really did pick the most obscure character to be the perpetrator of the murders. Like, I like to be able to figure it out, and this one I just felt like they didn't even try to make it so I could figure it out. They just really threw it in there at the end, like, oh, surprise! And I was like, what? How did we even get to that? I think the foreshadowing definitely could have been stronger. I want to get hints to what the twist is. I still want to know the twist, but I want hints sprinkled in there of what it's going to be so I can keep guessing, and I feel like that was what was lacking the most in this book. This is something I never do, but I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars because I really could not decide between a 3 or a 4. Usually I'm pretty against half stars, but yeah, 3.5. It wasn't quite a 4, but it was better than a 3. So then I read Aquacorn Cove by Katie O'Neill. This book is absolutely freaking adorable, you guys. The pictures in it are so cute. The story is so heartwarming and meaningful, and I just loved everything about it. The illustrations in this book are absolutely darling. I think Katie O'Neill is probably one of my current favorite graphic novelists. And so I absolutely loved this one. All I wrote on my paper for it is unreasonably cute and beautiful, which is definitely how I feel about it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. And then I read Snot Girl Volume 3. This is called Is This Real Life? I have been reading Snot Girl since they started, and I liked the first 2 a lot, but there was a lot of plot elements that I was confused on or that I didn't really see where they were going, and I feel like those plot elements were really resolved in this 3rd volume. Snot Girl can pretty much make up for anything that it lacks in plot with the art. I love the art so much, and I love the characters so much. It could make no sense, and I'd probably still read it, but this one did make a lot more sense than the last 2, which I really appreciated. Cute Girl is my favorite character, in case anyone was wondering. She reminds me a lot of me, which is why I like her so much, and I wanted to show you guys this one panel in specific because I saved it on my phone. That's how cute I thought it was. It's this one right here. This dog. Do you see that dog? Fucking adorable. I gave Snot Girl Volume 3 4 out of 5 stars. After I read that, I read The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. Yes, I finally got around to this one, and I was so delightfully surprised. I have been a little bit slumpy when it comes to anything that's not a thriller recently, and so I was worried picking up this book that I was going to start it and not be able to finish it just because of the mood I was in, and I really didn't want that to happen because this is a book that I've been wanting to read for a while, and I really wanted to enjoy it because everybody else seems to be enjoying it so much. And to my surprise, I absolutely loved it. I was able to get through it, no problem. I kept wanting to pick it up time and time again. This is another one that was fabulously paced. I felt like there was never a time where I wanted to put it down. I just wanted to keep reading it. One of my favorite themes in books is sister and family themes because I have a sister, and so that was really, really strong in this book, and I liked it a lot. The dynamic between the main 2 twins is great, and the dynamic between their children is great as well, so I really liked it for that. I wish that there had been more from certain perspectives because the way it's written, first part where you're in one person's life, next part you're in another person's life, third part you're in another person's life, and I wish I could have a more encompassing view of all the perspectives at certain points in their lives, but unfortunately that's just not the way it was written. So that was the one like little tiny gripe that I had about it. I really thought the look at colorism in this book was fascinating and something I've never seen in a book before, and so I thought that it was really well done and just overall a really, really great read. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And then I just wanted to talk briefly about a book that I DNF'd. I usually don't DNF books as a general rule. I try to make it through them. Like, it's rare that there's a book where I'll just stop reading it. I'm not one of those people that picks up a book, like starts reading it, doesn't like it, switches to a different book. I like to follow through on what I read, but this one I had been reading for 3 months. I DNF'd The Book of Longings by Sumunk Kid. I DNF'd it at 40%, and it wasn't because I didn't like it, it's just because I was never picking it up. Anytime I wanted to read, anytime I wanted to start a book, this was never the one I was going for, and I just had it sitting on my table for forever and it just wasn't getting read. It definitely, one of the biggest aspects for me in not finishing this book is that there's a ton of references to the Bible. Obviously it's a book about Jesus and the Bible, but because I've never read the Bible, I had an extremely hard time making connections, and I think for that reason it was just really dull for me. I'm not giving up on it completely. I'm not throwing it out of my TBR. I'm not like getting rid of it. I do want to come back to it and finish it because I was enjoying the story. I just was never picking it up, and I feel like just now is not the time. It's not my time for the Book of Longings. My mom, however, read it and she really enjoyed it, so you can take that recommendation with you. The last book I read in the month of August was Mayhem by Estelle Laurie. This is, I believe, a YA book that was compared to The Craft and The Lost Boys, like it's kind of a combination between those two, and it definitely gave off Lost Boys vibes, down to a couple of the lines in here were like straight up quotes from The Lost Boys, which I personally really appreciated. I thought it was super fun. I really liked what the author was going for with this book. I just feel like it was too much for how small it is. There was so many plot elements and so many things going on that I just felt like it needed another fourth of a book to wrap it all up properly. I felt like specifically the ending was really rushed, and like it was trying to wrap up all these plots that it had opened that maybe if they would have just stuck to one, it would have been a little better. But I did really love the themes and what the author was going for here. I loved the trauma elements to it. I thought they were great and very well done. I also absolutely loved the little rhyme, "Brayburn lady is coming for you. Take your man and curse you too. Brayburn lady knows your sins, reads your mind and kills your friends." I thought that was so cool, and it was such a cool concept. It just could have been done a little bit better. But that being said, this is Estelle Laurie's first book, and if she decides to come out with more, I definitely will be picking them up. So that's it, guys. Those are all the books that I read in the month of August. I am so pleased that I got so much read this month, and I hope that that continues on into the next month. And that is all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed. If you like this video, give it a like. If you want to subscribe, you can do that. If you didn't like it, then I don't know what to tell you. I don't like me either, okay? Bye, guys.